Just sell the damn house, Joanna. It's not like your mother's coming back to live in it. My husband Pierce said this while flipping burgers at his family's annual 4th of July barbecue, loud enough for everyone to hear. The sizzle of meat on the grill couldn't drown out the sudden silence that fell over the backyard. 23 people, his parents, his sister, cousins, neighbors, all pretending they weren't listening while hanging on every word. My name is Joanna, and I should have walked away right then. Instead, I stood there holding a bowl of potato salad, feeling my face burn with embarrassment and rage. Pierce, we talked about this, I said quietly, hoping to keep this private. Not here. When then? His sister Lexus appeared at his elbow like she'd been waiting for her cue. She had that look, the same one she'd worn 2 years ago when she'd gambled away her savings and needed us to cover her rent. The same look from last Christmas when her credit cards got maxed out and somehow became our problem. Seriously, Joanna, Lexus continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. It's just sitting there empty. Mom's been gone 8 months now. Keeping that place is just selfish. Selfish. The word hit me like a slap. It's not about the money, I started, but Pierce cut me off. Everything's about money when you don't have it. He gestured toward Lexus with his spatula. My sister needs help, real help. And you're sitting on a gold mine because you're too sentimental to let go of a pile of bricks. A pile of bricks? That's what he called the house where I'd learned to ride a bike in the driveway, where my mother had taught me to bake cookies, where I'd held her hand during her final weeks. Pierce's mother, Denise, materialized beside me, placing what she probably thought was a comforting hand on my shoulder. Honey, I know it's hard, but Pierce is right. Your mother would want you to help family. Family. As if Lexus had ever treated me like family. As if any of them had. How much does she owe this time? I asked, my voice barely steady. Lexus shifted uncomfortably. It's not that much. $47,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. $47,000. More than most people made in a year, and she said it like it was pocket change. Jesus, Lexus, someone muttered from the crowd. Pierce shot them a warning look, then turned back to me. The house is worth at least $200,000. We sell it, pay off Lexus's debts, and still have plenty left over. We. As if he'd contributed a single dollar to the mortgage payments I'd been making since Mom got sick. As if he'd spent sleepless nights in that house, listening to her labored breathing through the baby monitor I'd set up so I could hear if she needed help. I need time to think, I said. Time? Lexus's voice pitched higher. Joanna, they're threatening to take my car, my apartment. I could lose everything. You already lost everything, I wanted to say. Twice. But Pierce's father, Gordon, stepped forward, and I knew I was outnumbered. Now, Joanna, Gordon said in that patronizing tone he used when he thought he was being reasonable, I understand you're grieving, but grief can make us hold on to things that aren't practical. Your mother was a practical woman. She'd want you to do the right thing. The right thing. According to them, the right thing was always whatever benefited them most. I looked around the circle of faces, Pierce's family, their friends, even some neighbors who barely knew me, all of them watching, waiting to see if I'd cave. Again. Pierce moved closer, lowering his voice. Baby, I know this is hard, but we're family. Family helps family. There it was again. Family. The magic word that had gotten me to pay for Lexus's car repairs, her medical bills, her last 3 emergencies. The word that had convinced me to take out a second mortgage on my own house to cover Pierce's failed business venture. I felt tears starting, and I hated myself for it. Hated that they could reduce me to this in front of all these people. Okay, I whispered. Okay? Pierce's face lit up. I'll sell it. The cheer that went up from Lexus made me sick. Pierce pulled me into a hug that felt more like a victory lap than comfort. But as I stood there, letting them celebrate, something cold and hard settled in my chest. They thought they'd won. They thought I was just another pushover who'd roll over and hand them everything they wanted. They had no idea what I'd been planning. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Pierce on the phone in the kitchen, his voice animated in a way I hadn't heard in months. Yeah, Mom, she agreed. Can you believe it? 47,000, just like that. He laughed. I told you she'd come around once she realized how selfish she was being. I stayed in bed, listening to him celebrate my surrender. Through the thin walls, I could hear every word. Lexus is already calling realtors. We want to move fast before Joanna changes her mind. You know how emotional she gets about that place. Emotional. Another word they used like a weapon. When I finally came downstairs, Pierce was practically bouncing on his heels. Morning, baby. I already made coffee. Thought we could drive over to your mom's place today, start clearing it out. Clearing it out? Well, yeah, can't show it with all her stuff still there. Lexus found this estate sale company that'll take everything. They said they could have it emptied by Wednesday. My mother's things. Her books, her china, the quilt she'd made by hand over 3 winters. They wanted to sell it all to strangers. I haven't even gone through her things yet, I said. Pierce waved his hand dismissively. Joanna, it's just stuff. The faster we get it listed, the faster we can help Lexis. The front door burst open, and Lexus herself swept in without knocking. She'd always done that, treated our house like her personal crash pad. Oh my God, Joanna, thank you. She threw her arms around me in a hug that reeked of desperation and last night's wine. You have no idea what this means to me. I was literally about to lose everything. Again, I said quietly. She pulled back, her smile faltering for just a second. What? Nothing. Pierce shot me a warning look. Lexus brought some paperwork, real estate stuff. She dumped a stack of forms on my kitchen table. I already talked to 3 agents this morning. This one guy, Marcus, he thinks we can get 250, maybe more if we stage it right. 250. 50,000 more than Pierce had estimated yesterday. Funny how the number kept growing. I also called that estate sale lady, Lexus continued, pulling out her phone. She can start tomorrow if you want. Get all that old furniture out of there. That old furniture belonged to my mother. Right, but it's not like you need it, right? You've got your own stuff. She gestured around our kitchen. Besides, empty houses show better. Marcus said so. Pierce nodded along like she was making perfect sense. We should probably get new locks too. Make sure everything's secure during showings. Already ordered them, Lexus said. Marcus recommended a locksmith. He'll be there Thursday. I stared at them both. You ordered new locks? For my house? Well, technically it's going to be everyone's house once we sell it, Pierce said with a laugh. Community property, right? Wrong. So completely wrong. But I just nodded. I should probably go over there today, I said. Say goodbye properly. Lexus's face scrunched up. Goodbye? Joanna, it's a house. It's not going anywhere. I mean before you strip it bare and hand it over to strangers. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Pierce cleared his throat. Maybe that's not such a good idea, baby. You'll just get all worked up again. Worked up? You know what I mean. Emotional. It'll just make this harder than it needs to be. Before I could respond, the back door opened and my 17-year-old stepdaughter Mia walked in. She took one look at the papers scattered across the table and the tension in the room. What's going on? She asked. Great news, Lexus announced. Joanna's selling her mom's house to help me out. Isn't that amazing? Mia's eyes found mine. She was Pierce's daughter from his first marriage, but she'd lived with us for 3 years. She knew me well enough to read the pain I was trying to hide. Are you okay with this? She asked me directly. Of course she is, Pierce answered before I could speak. It's the right thing to do. Mia ignored him, still looking at me. Joanna? It's fine, I said. It's just a house. But Mia knew me too well. Later, when Pierce and Lexus left to meet with the realtor, she found me sitting on the back porch. You don't want to sell it, she said. It wasn't a question. It doesn't matter what I want. That's bullshit. Mia sat down beside me. It's your house. Your mom's house. Your dad's right. It's just sitting there empty. So? Maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you need more time. Time. The one thing Pierce and Lexus weren't willing to give me. They've already made all the decisions, I said. Estate sale, new locks, realtor, I'm just supposed to sign the papers. Mia was quiet for a moment. Then, you know you don't have to do this, right? Like, legally, it's still your house. They can't make you sell it. I looked at her. This kid who saw through everyone's bullshit with startling clarity. Sometimes doing the right thing means making sacrifices, I said. And sometimes people call things the right thing when they really mean the thing that benefits them most. Smart girl. Too smart for her own good. That evening, Pierce came home with a bottle of champagne and takeout from our favorite restaurant. Thought we should celebrate, he said, popping the cork. Marcus thinks we could have offers by next week. I watched the bubbles rise in my glass and thought about Mia's words, about sacrifice, about what people call the right thing. Here's to family, Pierce said, raising his glass. To family, I echoed. But as I drank, I was thinking about a different kind of family, the kind that doesn't strip your house bare and sell your memories to strangers, the kind that doesn't call you selfish for grieving, the kind I was apparently never going to have with these people. 3 weeks earlier, before the barbecue, before Pierce's ultimatum, I'd been sitting in my mother's kitchen going through her papers when I found the manila folder. It was tucked behind her recipe box, thick with documents I'd never seen before. Property surveys, zoning maps, correspondence with the city planning office dating back 15 years. My mother had been quietly fighting a rezoning proposal that would have turned our quiet residential street into a commercial corridor. She'd lost that fight. The rezoning had been approved just 2 months before she died. I'd called the city planning office that same day, asking innocent questions about what commercial rezoning meant for property values. The woman who answered, Nora, had been surprisingly helpful. Oh, the Maple Street corridor. That's going to be huge. Mixed-use development, retail spaces, maybe even a small office complex. Properties in that zone are going to be worth significantly more than residential. How much more? Hard to say exactly, but I've seen similar rezonings triple property values. Maybe more if the right developer gets interested. Triple. I'd hung up the phone with my hands shaking. Now, watching Pierce and Lexus plan their fire sale, I knew I had to act fast. I'm going to the grocery store, I announced Tuesday morning. Want me to come with you? Pierce asked, not looking up from his laptop where he was browsing real estate listings. No, I'm fine. Might stop by Mom's place after, check on things. Don't take too long, Lexus called from the couch. The estate sale people are coming at 2. I drove straight to City Hall instead. Nora turned out to be a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and sensible shoes. She remembered our phone conversation. I was wondering if you'd call back, she said, leading me to her office. I did some more research after we talked. Your property is in a very interesting position. She spread out a map on her desk, pointing to a highlighted section. See this? Your mother's house sits right at the corner of the new commercial zone. Prime location for development. What kind of development? Well, there's been some interest from a major retail chain, and I heard through the grapevine that a corporate office complex is being considered for the area. Nothing official yet, but these things move fast once they get rolling. My heart was pounding. How fast? Could be weeks, could be months. But if I were you, I'd hold on to that property until the dust settles. You might be sitting on a gold mine. A gold mine. Pierce's exact words, but he had no idea how right he was. Is there any way to find out more? About the corporate interest? Nora glanced around, then leaned forward. Officially, I can't tell you anything that isn't public record. Unofficially, there's a development company that's been very quietly buying up properties in your area, paying well above market value. She wrote a name and phone number on a sticky note. This is Yseph Harris. He's a corporate real estate representative. Very discreet, very professional. If anyone would know about upcoming opportunities, it would be him. I tucked the note into my purse like it was made of gold. One more thing, Nora said as I stood to leave. Whatever you decide to do, don't rush into anything. These corporate deals can be very lucrative, but timing is everything. I was pulling into my driveway when my phone rang. Beatrice, my oldest friend, calling from work. Hey, stranger, how are you holding up? I'm fine. Bullshit. Mia called me. She said Pierce is making you sell your mom's house. I should have known Mia would reach out to Beatrice. They'd bonded over the years, two people who could see through Pierce's charm. It's complicated. It's not complicated. It's your house. Tell him to go to hell. B, you don't understand. Lexus is in real trouble this time. Lexus is always in real trouble. That's what happens when you're a gambling addict who refuses to get help. I pulled into the garage, checking to make sure Pierce's car wasn't in the driveway. Can you meet me somewhere? I need to talk to someone. Of course. The usual place? 20 minutes later, we were sitting in our favorite coffee shop, the one where we'd spent countless hours during college complaining about boys and dreaming about our futures. You look terrible, Beatrice said without preamble. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm serious, Joanna. You look like you haven't slept in weeks. I haven't. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Talk to me. What's really going on? I told her everything. The barbecue, the pressure, the way they'd already started making decisions about my mother's house without consulting me, but I didn't tell her about the zoning research, or Nora, or the sticky note burning a hole in my purse. You know what this is, right? Beatrice said when I finished. This is financial abuse. They're manipulating you into giving up your inheritance to bail out his irresponsible sister. Again. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. She leaned forward. Joanna, how much money have you given them over the past 2 years? I didn't want to think about it. The car repairs, the credit card payments, the business loan that went nowhere. Too much, I admitted. And now they want your house, your mother's house, the last thing you have left of her. They keep saying it's just a pile of bricks. It's not just a pile of bricks, and they know it. That's why they're pushing so hard. Beatrice was right, but not in the way she thought. It wasn't just a pile of bricks. It was potentially worth far more than any of them realized. What are you going to do? She asked. I pulled out the sticky note with Ysef's number. I'm going to make a phone call. Beatrice read the name and number, frowning. Who's Yseph Harris? Someone who might be able to help me figure out what my options are. Joanna, her voice was serious now. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Pierce isn't going to take it well if you back out now. I'm not backing out, I said, standing up. I'm just making sure I understand what I'm giving up. But as I walked to my car, I was already dialing Ysef's number. It was time to find out exactly what my mother's house was really worth. And more importantly, it was time to find out what Pierce and Lexus didn't know they were trying to steal from me. Ysef's voice was smooth and professional when he answered on the second ring. Harris Development Group, this is Yseph. Hi, I got your number from Nora at City Planning. I own property on Maple Street, and I understand there might be some development interest in the area. A pause. Could you hold for just a moment? When he came back on the line, his tone was more guarded. I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Are you available to meet this afternoon? We arranged to meet at a quiet restaurant downtown. I told Pierce I was having lunch with Beatrice. Yseph turned out to be a tall man with graying temples and an expensive suit. He stood when I approached his table, extending a firm handshake. Mrs. Arnold, thank you for reaching out. Please sit. He waited until I'd ordered coffee before getting down to business. Nora mentioned you might be interested in exploring your options regarding the Maple Street property. May I ask what prompted your inquiry? My family is pressuring me to sell quickly. I want to make sure I'm not making a mistake. Quick sales are rarely in the seller's best interest, he said carefully, especially in areas undergoing zoning transitions. What kind of transitions? He pulled out a tablet, swiping to a detailed map. Your property sits at what we call a convergence point. Residential meets commercial, with excellent access to major thoroughfares. Very desirable for certain types of development. What types? Mixed-use retail, professional offices, even boutique hotels. The city's been very cooperative about permits in this corridor. I leaned forward. What would something like that be worth? That depends on several factors. Size of the lot, condition of existing structures, timeline for development. He paused. Would you mind if I asked what your family's timeline looks like? They want to list it this week. They're hoping for a quick sale. Ysef's eyebrows rose slightly. This week? That's aggressive. They have debts to pay. I see. He was quiet for a moment. Then, Mrs. Arnold, I'm going to be very direct with you. If you're serious about maximizing the value of your property, rushing into a residential sale would be a significant mistake. How significant? Without seeing the property, I'd estimate you could be leaving several $100,000 on the table. Several $100,000? I tried to keep my expression neutral. Of course, corporate acquisitions take time, he continued. Due diligence, environmental surveys, permit approvals. We're talking months, not weeks. What if I don't have months? Then you'd need to weigh the immediate financial pressure against the long-term opportunity cost. He slid a business card across the table. If you decide you'd like to explore this further, call me, but don't wait too long. These opportunities don't stay available indefinitely. I drove home with his card burning in my purse, my mind racing with possibilities. Pierce was in the kitchen when I walked in, his phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, Marcus, that sounds perfect. Thursday morning works great. He hung up and grinned at me. Great news. We've got our first showing lined up. Already? Marcus says the market's hot right now. He thinks we'll have multiple offers by the weekend. Lexus bounced in from the living room. Did you tell her about the Hendersons? The Hendersons? Pierce's grin widened. Cash buyers. They saw the listing online and want to make an offer sight unseen. How much? $220. Marcus thinks we should take it. $220,000. $40,000 less than their original estimate, and potentially hundreds of thousands less than what Ysef was hinting at. Sight unseen seems risky, I said. Risky? Lexus laughed. Joanna, it's cash. No financing contingencies, no inspection period. We could close in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. My stomach dropped. I thought you said the house was worth $250. Pierce waved his hand dismissively. Market's unpredictable. Marcus says we should take the sure thing. Besides, Lexus added, $220 is more than enough to cover my debts and still leave plenty for you and Pierce. Plenty for me and Pierce, as if this was some generous gift they were giving me. I'd like to think about it overnight. Pierce's smile faltered. Think about what? It's a great offer. It's a big decision. Joanna. His voice had that edge I'd learned to recognize. We've been through this. You agreed to sell. I agreed to sell. I didn't agree to take the first lowball offer that came along. Lexus stepped forward. Lowball? Joanna. It's $220,000. That's life-changing money. For you, maybe. The words came out sharper than I'd intended. The room went quiet. What's that supposed to mean? Lexus asked. Nothing. I just want one night to think about it. Pierce moved closer, his voice dropping to that manipulative tone he used when he wanted something. Baby, I know this is emotional for you, but we can't let emotions cloud our judgment here. Lexus needs help, and this is our chance to help her. Our chance, as if he'd contributed anything to this decision beyond pressure and guilt. One night, I repeated. Fine, Pierce said, but his jaw was tight. One night. But Joanna, we can't keep jerking these people around. The Hendersons are serious buyers. That evening, I sat in my car outside my mother's house, staring at the windows that would soon belong to strangers. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Arnold, this is Yseph Harris. I wanted to follow up on our conversation. If you're still interested in exploring alternatives, please call me as soon as possible. Time is becoming a factor. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the call button. Another text came through, this one from Nora at City Planning. Joanna, I hope you don't mind me reaching out directly. There have been some developments regarding the Maple Street corridor. We should talk soon. My hands were shaking as I dialed Nora's number. Joanna, I'm so glad you called. I just got word that the commercial development timeline has been accelerated. The permits are being fast-tracked. What does that mean? It means property values in your area are about to jump significantly, and it means if you're planning to sell, you need to be very careful about timing. How careful? Don't sign anything until we talk. Can you come in tomorrow morning, early? I looked back at the house, at the windows glowing in the streetlight. Tomorrow, Pierce and Lexus would be expecting an answer about the Henderson offer. I'll be there at 8, I said. As I drove home, I realized I was no longer the grieving widow being pressured into a quick sale. I was a woman sitting on information that could change everything. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I was at City Hall by 7:50 the next morning. Nora was already waiting with coffee and a stack of documents. I'm glad you came in, she said, spreading papers across her desk. The timeline just got moved up significantly. The commercial development permits are being approved next week. Next week? There's a major retailer involved now. They want to break ground before winter. She pointed to a highlighted section on the map. Your property is right in the sweet spot. Corner lot, perfect visibility, existing utilities. My phone buzzed. Pierce texting. Henderson offer expires at noon. Need your answer. What happens when the permits are approved? I asked Nora. Property values will adjust immediately. We're talking about a significant increase. How significant? She hesitated. I can't give you specific numbers, but I've seen similar situations where properties doubled or tripled in value overnight. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lexus. Joanna, the Hendersons are getting impatient. Marcus says we need to decide now. There's something else, Nora said. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but there's been a lot of corporate interest in your specific lot. Phone calls, inquiries. Someone's been doing their homework. What kind of someone? The kind with deep pockets and development experience. I thought about Ysef's business card in my purse. If I wanted to explore corporate options, how would I go about it? Very carefully and very quietly. These deals can be complicated, and timing is everything. I left City Hall and drove straight to the coffee shop where I'd met Ysef. He answered on the first ring. Mrs. Arnold, I was hoping you'd call. Can we meet? Today? I'm actually in the area. Give me 20 minutes. When he arrived, his usual calm demeanor seemed more urgent. I'll cut straight to the point, he said. We've been authorized to make an offer on your property. What kind of offer? He slid a folder across the table. Preliminary terms. Contingent on due diligence, of course. I opened the folder and nearly choked on my coffee. The number at the bottom was more than double what the Hendersons were offering. This is real, very real, but there are conditions. We'd need exclusive negotiating rights for 30 days. No other offers, no other showings. My phone rang. Pierce. I have to take this, I told Ysef. Joanna, where are you? Pierce's voice was tight. The Hendersons called Marcus. They want an answer in 2 hours or they're walking. I'm running errands. What errands? We need to talk about this offer. I'll be home soon. Joanna, I'm serious. Don't screw this up. Lexus is falling apart here. I hung up and looked at Ysef. How long do I have to decide? Ideally, today. These corporate deals move fast once they get started. And if I say yes? We'd need to move immediately. Paperwork, surveys, the whole process. It's intensive, but the payoff? He gestured to the folder. I stared at the numbers again. Life-changing money. Real life-changing money. I need a few hours. I understand, but Mrs. Arnold, don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often. I drove home to find Pierce pacing the kitchen while Lexus sat at the table, her head in her hands. Finally, Pierce said, we need to call Marcus right now. About what? The Henderson offer. It expires in 90 minutes. Lexus looked up, her eyes red. Joanna, please, I can't take much more of this stress. My creditors are calling every hour. What if there was a better offer? Pierce stopped pacing. What do you mean, better offer? What if someone offered more money? Who? Marcus hasn't mentioned any other buyers. Not through Marcus. The room went quiet. Pierce's eyes narrowed. Joanna, what are you talking about? I pulled out Ysef's folder, setting it on the table. I've been doing some research. Pierce grabbed the folder, his eyes widening as he read. What the hell is this? A corporate development offer. Corporate development? Lexus snatched the papers. Holy shit, Joanna. This is almost $500,000. It's preliminary, I said quickly. There are conditions. Pierce was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. How long have you known about this? I've been looking into options. Options? His voice was rising. You've been sneaking around behind our backs? I've been protecting my interests. Your interests? Lexus stood up, waving the papers. Joanna, this is incredible. We could pay off my debts and still have enough left over to buy a new house. Pierce was still staring at me. You let us think the Henderson offer was our only choice. I never said that. You let us panic about a deadline while you had this in your back pocket. I wanted to understand all my options before making a decision. Your options? Pierce's face was flushed now. Joanna, we're married. These are our options. It's my house. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Pierce's jaw tightened. It's our marriage. Is it? Because it feels like it's your family's marriage, your family's decisions, your family's emergencies that somehow always become my financial responsibility. Lexus stepped between us. Guys, can we focus on the important thing here? This offer is amazing. The offer has conditions, I said. 30-day exclusive negotiating period, no other deals. So, Pierce said, we tell the Hendersons we're not interested. And if the corporate deal falls through, then we find another buyer. Joanna, this is almost twice what the Hendersons offered. My phone buzzed with a text from Beatrice. How did the meeting go? Call me. Another text, this one from an unknown number. Mrs. Arnold, this is Marcus, your realtor. The Henderson offer expires in 1 hour. Please advise. I looked at Pierce and Lexus, both staring at me expectantly. They thought this was just about choosing between two offers. They had no idea I was choosing between two completely different futures. I need to make some calls, I said. Calls to who? Pierce demanded. The corporate representative. I need to understand the terms better. Joanna. Pierce's voice was warning now. Don't overthink this. It's a great offer. It's my decision. It's our decision. I picked up the folder and headed for the door. I'll be back in an hour. Where are you going? To make sure I understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. As I drove away, I could see Pierce and Lexus in the rearview mirror, standing in the driveway arguing. My phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. For the first time in months, I was the one calling the shots, and I was just getting started. I met Ysef at his office this time, a sleek building downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive artwork. His assistant offered me water while I waited in a conference room that probably cost more than most people's cars. Mrs. Arnold, Ysef said, entering with a thick folder, I'm glad you decided to move forward. I haven't decided anything yet. I need to understand the timeline. He spread out a calendar. Exclusive negotiating period starts immediately upon signing. 30 days for due diligence, surveys, environmental assessments. If everything checks out, we close within 60 days total. And if something doesn't check out, then we walk away and you're free to pursue other options. But Mrs. Arnold, we've done our preliminary research. Your property is exactly what we're looking for. My phone rang. Pierce again. I declined the call. There's one more thing, Yseph said. Given the sensitive nature of this development, we'd need you to maintain confidentiality during the negotiating period. What does that mean? No discussions with other potential buyers, no public disclosure of our offer, standard practice for corporate acquisitions. Another call from Pierce, then a text. Joanna, the Henderson offer just expired. Call me now. I need to ask you something, I said to Yseph. If I sign this and my family finds out, are they going to try to interfere? The property is in your name solely? Yes. Then legally, they have no standing, but family situations can be complicated. Tell me about it. What do you need from me right now? Your signature on the exclusive negotiating agreement. That locks in our offer and starts the clock. I stared at the papers. Once I signed, there was no going back to the Henderson offer, no going back to Pierce and Lexus's simple plan. Can I have a few minutes? Of course. Yseph left me alone in the conference room. I called Beatrice. Jesus, Joanna, I've been worried sick. Pierce called me looking for you. What did you tell him? That I hadn't heard from you. What's going on? I told her about the corporate offer, the timeline, the exclusive negotiating period. Holy shit, she said when I finished. Joanna, this is incredible. It's also risky. How is it risky? It's almost $500,000. If Pierce finds out I'm doing this behind his back, Pierce can go to hell. It's your house, your decision. He's my husband. He's a manipulative asshole who's been using you as his family's personal ATM for years. She was right, but that didn't make this easier. What if the deal falls through? Then you find another buyer. Joanna, you hold all the cards here. Stop acting like you don't. I hung up and stared at the signature line. Yseph knocked and came back in. Any questions? Just one. How sure are you that this will go through? 95%. We've been planning this development for 2 years. Your property is the last piece we need. I picked up the pen and signed. Excellent, Yseph said, countersigning immediately. I'll have copies prepared for you. And Mrs. Arnold? Congratulations. You just made a very smart decision. I drove home with the signed agreement in my purse, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Pierce's car was in the driveway, along with Lexus's beat-up Honda and Marcus the realtor's BMW. They were all sitting around the kitchen table when I walked in, their faces grim. There she is, Pierce said, his voice cold. Our missing seller. Marcus stood up, extending his hand. Mrs. Arnold, I'm Marcus. We need to talk about what happened with the Henderson offer. What about it? It expired 2 hours ago. They've moved on to another property. Lexus's face was blotchy from crying. Joanna, how could you just disappear like that? We were counting on that sale. I told you I needed time to think. Time to think? Pierce slammed his hand on the table. Time to think about what? It was a great offer. There are other offers. Marcus perked up. Other offers? I haven't shown the property to anyone else. Not through you. Pierce's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? I pulled out a copy of the corporate agreement, setting it on the table. It means I've been exploring my options. Marcus grabbed the papers, his eyes widening. This is a development company. A what? Lexus snatched the papers from him. Corporate real estate acquisition, Marcus read. Exclusive negotiating rights. His face went pale. Mrs. Arnold, this is a binding agreement. I know what it is. Pierce was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You signed this without telling us? I signed it because it's the best offer. The best offer? Lexus was reading over Marcus's shoulder. Joanna, this says they have 30 days to back out for any reason. It also says they're offering almost $500,000. If they don't back out, Pierce said, what happens if they do? We've lost the Henderson buyers, and now you've locked us into this exclusive period where we can't entertain other offers. Marcus was shaking his head. Mrs. Arnold, I have to advise against this. Corporate deals are notoriously unreliable. These companies will tie up your property for months and then walk away over some technicality. That's not going to happen. How do you know? Pierce demanded. Because I did my research. What research? Joanna, you don't know anything about real estate development. I know more than you think. The room went quiet. Pierce was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Part anger, part confusion, part something that might have been respect. How long have you been planning this? He asked quietly. I haven't been planning anything. I've been protecting my interests. Your interests? He repeated. What about our interests? What about Lexus's debts? What about them? Lexus stood up, her voice shrill. Joanna, I could lose everything. My car, my apartment, everything. You've already lost everything twice. Maybe it's time to face the consequences instead of expecting other people to bail you out. The words came out harsher than I'd intended, but I didn't take them back. Pierce's face was red now. That's my sister you're talking about. That's your sister who's a gambling addict who refuses to get help. She's family. So am I, or I'm supposed to be. Marcus cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps I should leave you all to discuss this privately. No, I said. You can stay. This won't take long. I looked around the table at their shocked faces. Pierce's anger, Lexus's desperation, Marcus's professional concern. The agreement is signed. The deal is in motion. And for the next 30 days, nobody else gets to make decisions about my mother's house. Pierce stood up slowly. Joanna, you have no idea what you've just done. I know exactly what I've done. Do you? Because it looks like you just gambled our financial future on some corporate promise that might not even be real. I met his eyes steadily. Then I guess we'll find out, won't we? 28 days later, I was sitting in Ysef's conference room watching him review the final paperwork. The due diligence had gone perfectly. Environmental surveys clean, property boundaries confirmed, all permits approved. Everything looks excellent, Ysef said, sliding a thick folder across the table. We're ready to proceed to closing. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Pierce, Lexus, even Marcus calling to ask about the status. I'd ignored them all. When? I asked. Tomorrow morning, if you're available. 10 a.m. at the title company. Tomorrow. After a month of Pierce and Lexus alternating between panic and false confidence, it would finally be over. There is one thing, Ysef said. Given the amount involved, we'll need to wire the funds. The title company will handle everything, but you should expect the money to hit your account within 24 hours of closing. $487,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage, I'd walk away with over $400,000. Mrs. Arnold, are you all right? I'm fine, just processing. I understand. It's a significant transaction. I drove home to find Pierce's entire family gathered in our living room. His parents, Lexus, even his brother David, who lived 3 states away. They all looked up when I walked in, their faces a mixture of hope and desperation. Well? Pierce asked. Well, what? The corporate deal. It's been almost a month. I set my purse down carefully. The closing is tomorrow. The room erupted. Lexus jumped up, squealing. Pierce's mother actually clapped. Even Gordon, who never showed emotion, was smiling. "I knew it," Lexus said, throwing her arms around me. "I knew you'd come through." Pierce was grinning. "How much? What's the final number?" 487,000. Jesus Christ, David whistled. "Joanna, you're a genius." After the mortgage payoff, Pierce was calculating in his head, we're looking at over 400,000 clear. There was that word again. "When do we get the money?" Lexus asked. "The funds will be wired after closing," I said. "Tomorrow?" Pierce's eyes were bright. "We could have the money tomorrow?" "I could have the money tomorrow." The room went quiet. Pierce's smile faltered. "What do you mean you could have the money?" "I mean, the money goes into my account. It's my house, my sale." "But we're married," Pierce said slowly. "Community property." "The house was inherited. It's separate property." "I'd checked with a lawyer 3 weeks ago, just to be sure." Lexus stepped forward. "Joanna, you're not serious. You're going to help me with my debts, right? That was the whole point of this." "Was it?" "Of course it was. Why else would we sell the house?" I looked around the room at their expectant faces. Pierce's parents, who'd never treated me like family. David, who barely acknowledged my existence at family gatherings. Lexus, who'd been bleeding me dry for 2 years. "You're right," I said. "That was the point, for you." Pierce moved closer. "Joanna, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm tired of being your family's personal bank account." "Personal bank account?" Denise's voice was sharp. "Joanna, we're family. Family helps family." "Family." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "When have any of you ever treated me like family?" "That's not fair," Pierce said. "Isn't it? When was the last time any of you asked how I was doing? When was the last time you cared about anything other than what I could do for you financially?" "We care about you," Lexus said, but her voice was weak. "Do you? Because when I was grieving my mother, you called me selfish. When I needed time to process selling her house, you called me emotional. When I wanted to make sure I was getting the best deal, you accused me of being sneaky." The room was dead silent now. "Joanna," Pierce's voice was careful. "You're upset. I understand. But we can work through this." "Can we?" "Because I don't think you understand at all." I walked to the mantel and picked up a framed photo of my mother and me from last Christmas. She looked so frail, but she was smiling. My mother worked 2 jobs to keep her house. She scrimped and saved and went without so she could leave me something. And you wanted me to sell it for a fraction of its value to bail out someone who's never learned to take responsibility for her own choices. "That's not fair," Lexus said, tears starting. "I have a problem. I need help. You need professional help, not money. Money just enables you to keep gambling." "I'm not gambling anymore." "You said that last time, and the time before that." Pierce stepped between us. "Okay, everyone needs to calm down." "I am calm," I said. "I'm calmer than I've been in months." "Joanna, let's talk about this privately." "Why? So you can manipulate me again? So you can tell me I'm being selfish and emotional until I give in?" "I've never manipulated you." "Haven't you? Every time I've hesitated to give your family money, you've made me feel guilty. Every time I've tried to set boundaries, you've accused me of not caring about family." Pierce's face was flushed. "Because you don't. You've never fully accepted my family. Your family has never accepted me. I've been married to you for 5 years, and I'm still the outsider who's expected to pay for everything, but never gets a say in anything." "That's not true, isn't it?" "When was the last time anyone asked my opinion about anything that didn't involve my checkbook?" The silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally, Gordon cleared his throat. "Joanna, I think you're being a bit dramatic." "Dramatic?" I turned to face him. "Gordon, in the past 2 years, I've given your family over $60,000. $60,000. And not once has anyone said thank you. Not once has anyone asked if I could afford it. You just expected it." "We're grateful," Denise said quietly. Are you? Because it doesn't feel like gratitude. It feels like entitlement. Pierce was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. So, what are you saying? You're keeping all the money? I'm saying I'm done being taken advantage of. Taken advantage of? Lexus's voice was rising. Joanna, I could lose everything. You've already lost everything. Multiple times. And somehow it's always someone else's job to fix it. She's my sister, and I'm your wife, or I was supposed to be. The past tense hung in the air like a threat. Pierce's voice was very quiet when he spoke. What does that mean? I looked around the room one more time, at the faces of people who'd never really seen me as anything more than a source of money. It means I'm done. I walked upstairs to pack a bag, leaving them all sitting in stunned silence. Tomorrow, I'd be rich. Tonight, I was finally free. The closing took 47 minutes. I signed papers, shook hands with Ysef and the title company representatives, and walked out with a cashier's check that represented more money than I'd ever seen in my life. Pierce was waiting in the parking lot. We need to talk, he said, getting out of his car. No, we don't. Joanna, please, just 5 minutes. I stopped walking. 5 minutes. He looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. And? You're right, about some things. We did take you for granted. Some things? Okay, a lot of things. But Joanna, we're married. We can work through this. Can we? Because I don't think you understand what's changed. What's changed is you have money now. Real money. And you're letting it go to your head. I stared at him. Even now, even after everything, he still didn't get it. The money isn't what changed, Pierce. I changed. I finally realized I deserve better than being treated like an ATM with legs. That's not how we treated you, isn't it? When was the last time you asked me what I wanted? When was the last time you cared about my feelings about anything that didn't involve paying for your family's problems? He was quiet for a long moment. What do you want me to say? I want you to say you understand why I'm done. I want you to say you see how your family has treated me for 5 years. I want you to acknowledge that I was never really your wife. I was just your family's emergency fund. You were my wife. Was. Past tense. Joanna, don't do this. Don't throw away our marriage over money. I'm not throwing it away over money. I'm ending it because there was never really a marriage to begin with. Pierce's face crumpled. That's not true. When did you fall in love with me, Pierce? Really think about it. Was it before or after you found out I had a steady job and no debt? He opened his mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. I started walking toward my car. He followed. What about Mia? She loves you. And I love her, which is why I'm not going to make her choose sides in this mess. So you're just leaving? Just like that? I turned back to face him. I'm not leaving. You are. I'm keeping the house. I already talked to a lawyer. Our house? My house. The one I've been paying the mortgage on for 3 years while you were unemployed. Pierce's face went white. You can't do that. I can, and I am. My phone buzzed. A text from Mia. Dad told me what happened. Can I come stay with you? I showed Pierce the message. Looks like Mia's already made her choice. You turned her against me. I didn't have to. She's 17, not 7. She can see what's been happening. Another car pulled into the parking lot. Lexus got out, her face streaked with tears. Joanna, please, she said, rushing over. I know you're angry, but I'm desperate. They're going to repossess my car tomorrow. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you gambled away your car payment. I made a mistake. You made 100 mistakes, and every time someone else paid for them. I'm family. No, you're not. You're Pierce's family. And Pierce's family is his responsibility, not mine. Lexus looked at Pierce desperately. Do something. There's nothing I can do, Pierce said quietly. She's made up her mind. So that's it? Lexus's voice was shrill. You're just going to let her destroy our family? I didn't destroy your family, I said. I just stopped enabling it. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Pierce, I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce papers. Lexus, there are gambling addiction resources online. I suggest you use them. I drove away, leaving them standing in the parking lot. That evening, I was sitting on my back porch when Mia arrived with 2 suitcases and her cat. Dad's pretty upset, she said, settling into the chair next to me. I imagine he is. Aunt Lexus is having a complete meltdown. Grandma and Grandpa are calling you every name in the book. And what do you think? Mia was quiet for a moment. I think you should have done this a long time ago. Do you? Even though it means your dad and I are getting divorced? Especially because of that? She looked at me seriously. Joanna, I've watched them treat you like garbage for years. You deserve so much better. It's going to be complicated. Custody arrangements, holidays. I'm almost 18. I can make my own decisions about where I want to be. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the neighborhood. What are you going to do now? Mia asked. I don't know. Travel, maybe. Go back to school. Figure out who I am when I'm not constantly putting out other people's fires. That sounds amazing. My phone rang. Beatrice. Holy shit, Joanna. I just heard. Are you okay? I'm perfect. Perfect? You just divorced your husband and took his family for $500,000. I didn't take anything. I sold my mother's house and kept the money I was legally entitled to. Damn right you did. I'm so proud of you. It's weird, I said, looking around my backyard now. I thought I'd feel guilty or sad, but I just feel free. You should feel free. You just escaped from 5 years of financial abuse. Is that what it was? That's exactly what it was. And now you're free to live your life on your own terms. After I hung up, Mia and I ordered pizza and watched terrible movies until midnight. For the first time in years, I went to bed without worrying about money, without dreading the next family emergency, without feeling like I was failing someone. The next morning, I drove to my mother's grave. The headstone was simple, just her name and dates, but I'd had them engrave her favorite quote underneath. A woman with her own money is a dangerous thing. I finally understand what you meant, Mom, I said, placing fresh flowers by the stone. It's not about the money itself. It's about the freedom to choose, the power to say no, the ability to walk away from people who don't value you. The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment I could almost hear her voice. About damn time, sweetheart. I drove home to find Mia making breakfast, humming while she flipped pancakes. Good morning, she said. Sleep well? Better than I have in years. Good, because I was thinking, now that you're rich and free, maybe we should plan a trip. Europe? Australia? Somewhere Pierce and his family can't find us to ask for money. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Mia, that's the best idea I've heard all year. And it was.